Good morning, my lovely creatives. In today's video I will teach you how to make a portrait in color pencil. Color pencils can be a little bit intimidating sometimes because the lines are so fine and you can add so much detail with them. But I want you to let go of the fear of making something that's not perfect and just have fun, try out lots of color and make a portrait in all the colors of the rainbow with me. I'm going to use this color pencil set that was gifted to me by Blue Acorn. This is not going to be a full product review, and this is the first time I'm trying these pencils out, so I'm just going to have fun with it and experiment and create this portrait with you. Something to keep in mind when you're drawing in color pencil is that it's all about layering. You want to start soft and slowly layer your colors until you've reached the amount of color that you were looking for at the end. You really need to be a little bit patient. Another thing to remember is to work fairly small. Especially when you're new to drawing in color pencils, it can take quite a long time to complete an entire artwork. So start small, grab a small piece of paper. As you can see, this paper is about the size of my hand. And that way you have a higher chance of finishing your drawing in about an hour and a half. As I do with every drawing, I start with a really light sketch. And I'm sketching straight with a color pencil. I'm using red today. I love sketching in red, and I find that if I keep my lines really light, that they will be incorporated into my final artwork in the end. So my sketch does not have to be perfect, I'm just looking for the rough shapes. So usually the shape of a head is a bit like an egg, chin a little bit pointier and the top of the head a bit rounder. But if you want, you can definitely pick a reference photo and trace this initial sketch against a window, or use a light box if you prefer. Something else that works really well is tracing a picture by using your phone. So if you only work on a small bit of paper and it fits on your phone, you can put your phone or your iPad if you want on the highest brightness settings, and then that way you can see the picture through your paper a little bit and trace just the general shapes. Do not use this to add lots of detail to your drawing, it really is just for the biggest shapes. And I also don't recommend to use this too often. But for something like a portrait, which is quite complicated, and if you're new to it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just giving yourself a little bit of a hand to get started this way. I don't think there's anything wrong with using some tools once in a while to make life a little bit easier for yourself. So if this is something that you need in your journey right now, feel free to do it, that's absolutely fine. Make sure you pick a reference picture with good lighting though, which is very important. And if you find it difficult to take your own photos, there are stock photo websites with lots of portraits that you can use and that are freely available. Make sure you don't copy anyone's photos that are copyrighted, and lots of photos on social media are, for example. So have a look on stock photo websites, there's heaps and heaps available and they're really great to practice with. The sketch does not have to be perfect, it's all about how much space are we going to use in the paper and how, what the proportions roughly are. And we have lots of time to refine and to make things more precise. I'm slowly adding more and more lines to my sketch, and every time when I feel that a line is in the right place, I might make it a little bit darker. So I'm starting to add some hair to the sketch and a little bit of shadows just to get an idea of where the darks and the lights are going to go. A little bit of shadows around the nose. But I'm keeping it very light and very careful still, because I want to have lots of opportunity to make changes if I want to later on. I know that at this stage that my sketch is not perfect, and I know that I will want to make changes later on. This is something that I've done many times, and I know that it always takes me a little bit of time to find the right shapes. So I'm making her eyebrows a little bit darker, starting to add a bit of an hairstyle. I want this sort of wavy curly hair. And so far I'm only working in one color. I've only used my red pencil up till now. So once I have an idea of where my sketch is going to go, I'm starting to add in some darker shapes. So I'm making the eyes a little bit darker. And slowly shading the shapes around there. So usually the eyes are a little bit in the shadow because the eyebrows are sort of a little bit further out and they're casting a bit of shadow onto the eyes. So usually those areas are a little bit darker. There's usually some shadows around the nose. And I'm slowly starting to add that in. Still keeping it very soft though. I do not want any harsh lines quite yet. You can see I've put my video back onto real time and this is quite a slow process, so make sure you take your time for this. I'm looking at my reference picture and just deciding where the darkest shadows and where the lights are. There's usually some shadows onto the lips, under the chin, outside of the face, on the hair. So it all depends on where the light comes from. Is it coming from above or from the side? I like to do a little test here to make sure that the eyes are at the same level. I feel like the eyes are a little bit off at the moment, but it's okay, there's some time to correct that in a moment. So I'm slowly adding in these shadows and then I'm switching to purple. And purple is one of my favorite colors for shading. I use purple a lot, so I'm starting to add in a bit of purple for these shadow areas. It feels a little bit darker than the red. And it means that I can see a little bit clearer if these shapes, for example, these curves for the eyes, if they're in the right place. I can make some corrections to the shapes and I'm just really slowly taking my time for this. Make sure you have a really nice sharp point on your pencil. It just makes your life so much easier if you work with sharp tools. So I'm adding these purples, these darker colors, this is my shadow color, to the drawing. I don't always use purple, I think green can be a really interesting shadow color as well, but I tend to avoid black at this stage. It depends a bit on if I want to go for a warmer tone drawing or for a cooler tone. If I want to go for a warmer tone, I tend to go for purple, and if I want to go for a cooler tone, I tend to go for blue or green for my shadow tones. So I'm starting to add some waves into these curls. And just overall start to give a little bit more body to the drawing by adding some darker colors in. At this stage, if I notice any of the proportions being off, this is the right time to make some corrections, to change the shape of the face a little bit or make the eyes bigger or smaller. The longer you wait with making these corrections, the harder it becomes, but at this stage anything is still possible. I don't tend to use my eraser very much. I tend to just leave the lines as they are, just draw over them, and the newer lines will become more prominent. Once you're happy with your shadows, this is the time to start adding color, and you can be as creative as you want here. So I'm starting with some yellows, and skin tones can have so many different colors in them. Forget about that weird pink color in your set. Try and use all sorts of different colors to come to the right skin tone. Be a little bit creative with this. Skin tones can have different colors, green or purple or blue or yellow or orange in them. It doesn't matter if your drawing is going to be a light-skinned person or a dark-skinned person. Try and be creative with your colors. That's what I love about color pencils, and we're adding this slowly. So for the moment this is yellow. This color is not going to stay yellow, but it's going to be one of the main components in this skin tone. And I love just getting a little bit creative with it. The warmer zones of a person's face is usually around their nose, cheeks and eyes, so that sort of middle part. So that's where I tend to use a little bit more warmer reddish tones. And on other zones I might use a little bit more cooler tones. So now I'm blending in a little bit of brown. And remember to use your pencil very, very lightly, especially on the skin. Build it up slowly. For darker skin tones I tend to make an underpainting with marker or with a different material. So I don't tend to draw that with color pencil only. But for lighter skin tones, color pencil works perfect. So softly layering these colors, adding a little bit more shadow onto the hair. As you can see, I'm really taking my time for this. There's absolutely no rush. Sometimes I take a little break and just look at my artwork from a distance and see how it is coming together. I used to draw a lot in color pencil, and when I became an illustrator it was a material that I had forgotten about a little bit. I always used to think of color pencils as a material for children, and once I picked up my color pencils again and I started to experiment with them and to draw with them, I completely fell in love with the material again. I just now absolutely love drawing in color pencil, and I can't imagine having my art practice without it. I often combine color pencil with watercolors or with other materials, and it's just a material that I really couldn't do without. I find it easy to take with me when I'm traveling, and it's a really standard tool in my art box arsenal. You can see I'm slowly adding more and more color to the skin and to the eyes and to the lips, and I'm really trying to think outside the box a little bit here and there. Sometimes I just add a layer of light green over an artwork or a layer of pink, and I just try to feel free to just do what feels right in the moment. Try not to think ahead too much, but just see what the picture needs and how I react to that. I'm now using black for the first time, and I'm using my black really for the darkest shadows and to enhance some of the lines. So you can see I'm going around these edges that really are the darkest colors, and use the black quite sparse. I think less is more when it comes to black, and although it definitely has a place in my art practice, and I work a lot with inks as well, so I love making black and white art pieces, I think when it comes to color pencil, black can be a bit overpowering, and it's hard to take it away once you've put it down. So I recommend to save it, like use it really lightly, and you can always add more when you feel your picture needs it. When I draw in color pencil, sometimes I reach almost like a meditative state, and I think it is because all the small moves and all the small strokes that you make with your wrist and with your materials, and you're really focused on small areas of the paper, one at a time. And I find it so calming and so easy to be in the moment when I draw in color pencils, and I'm really curious if this is the same for you. I use lots of different materials. Sometimes I draw in charcoals or paint or watercolor paint. I use markers, and I love working large and I love working small, and I'm quite a diverse illustrator for that matter. I love working in pen. But color pencil is really the material that makes me feel most calm. And I meditate quite regularly. I really like to find stillness in my life. I think the world can be such a hectic place, and for me, finding some calm is really important. If I don't do that enough, I usually notice it in my health after a while. I'm planning to go on another silent meditation retreat soon, And although I don't talk about this that often, this is a very important thing to me, something that I do a lot. And the fact that drawing in color pencils makes me feel so calm and really helps me clear my mind is such an extra benefit for me, something that I really love about this material. I am super grateful for being able to make a living out of something that I love doing so much, and the fact that I can make a living of my art is something that I am thankful for every single day. And I know I've worked really hard for it, but gratitude is it's always good to have gratitude for what you've got, I think. And yeah, I absolutely love drawing in color pencils, and hopefully I can share a little bit of this feeling with you today, a bit of this happy, calm emotion that I feel today. You can see that the colors of the drawing are becoming very colorful. I'm adding a little bit of green to her hair now, green to the skin. And I've almost used every single color. I don't think I've used any blue yet. Maybe I need to use some blue. A bit more purple. I'm using almost every color that I have to my availability. And sometimes I'm being very conscious of picking a very specific monochromatic color scheme, but today I want to create a rainbow, beautiful, colorful portrait. So I'm using every single color. I'm slowly making areas a little bit darker, giving it a bit more emphasis. And I'm already starting to think about what to do next to make this picture just pop a little bit more. And do you see now, when I said in the beginning that it's all about layers, 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 that really is true. I'm still slowly adding light layers to this drawing to make the colors a little bit more intense and a bit more vibrant. This is the first time that I'm putting a little bit more pressure on my pencil, and I'm using my yellow to just add some glow to the artwork. I really want to get the sense of a light shining from the top left hand corner. My left and right are never really good. And I can add my yellow in a slightly harsher way to emphasize that a bit. So you can see that almost makes it like she has a bit of a glow, or there's a bit of a light shining from that direction. And the only reason I can do this a little bit more warmer now, with a little bit more pressure, is that I have layered it very softly up till now. That gives you the opportunity to add lots of things at a later stage. If you work really harsh from the beginning, it is very difficult to add any details later on. So I think that glow is very nice. I could decide that my picture is finished now, but I have decided that I want to just add a little bit more to it. Just push myself a little bit further. What is life if you don't take any risks, right? So I'm adding in a bit more pink, and I'm now slowly deciding to add something in the background as well, which could be a horrible disaster, but it could also mean to take the picture just to the next level. Some freckles on her face. Freckles need to be very light. I love drawing freckles. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I share weekly painting and drawing videos, lots of real-time tutorials, a lot of calm art classes. If there's something specific that you would like to learn, let me know, because I always look forward to hearing your suggestions and your ideas. Make sure you subscribe and that you click on that little bell so you get notified every time I post a video. When I'm drawing these balloons, I'm way less careful than what I was for the portrait itself. I'm using much harsher lines, more instantly, more color, and I'm being much more determined with what I'm doing. If I wanted these balloons to be super realistic, I would spend more time on them and slowly add the shadows and the lights and make them feel more round. But I'm quite happy for them to be just softly on the background and not take the attention away from this person. So I'm switching my colors, and I really hope that this will feel like a fun, colorful drawing this way. I'm having a lot of fun with this portrait. I'm having so much fun with this little artwork, and I really hope that you guys find it useful and that you're learning something about drawing portraits from this. Maybe you'll give it a go yourself, see what you can make in color pencils. It is really a beautiful medium for drawing portraits, and it gives you much more freedom to make changes than what you might initially think. All the fine lines that you started with, they get incorporated into the final artwork, and if you look at my picture now, you cannot tell where I started and where I finished. It really gives a sort of soft glow to any portrait. And even if you're new to drawing and you find portraits very hard, give it a go. It's fun to have a little challenge. You don't have to show anyone, and it's just really great fun thing to practice. And who knows, you might surprise yourself. I still surprise myself with my artwork sometimes. We learn every day, right? Thank you so much for being here with me, and make sure you subscribe. I have lots of other pencil classes if you want to check them out, and I'll see you around soon. Bye bye!